Welcome to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. And today, one of the things I did was make garlic jelly. And this is actually garlic rosemary jelly because I like the combination of sweetness, garlic, and rosemary together. And you can use it in so many different ways. And I just used several different size jars that I had. A jelly jar, a pint jar. And this is a jelly jar, only it's shorter and fatter, but it actually has the same amount in. Now what do I do with that? Well, at lunchtime I made grilled sandwiches and we dipped our turkey cheese grilled sandwiches in there, and in fact we even dipped some of our chips in there. But a lot of times I put it on meat, but probably the number one way I use it is when I'm making fried potatoes and eggs in the morning. Just before the potatoes are done, I'll put a dollop of the garlic jelly on there, mix it in. Oh, the flavor is spectacular. But you can put them on cream cheese and crackers, on toast, with salmon or any other kind of fish. I like to glaze it over a roast when I'm going to do it, or when I'm grilling. The last time I flip it, I'll put it over and I'll get just a beautiful glaze. Now, can I do it sooner? I could, but it makes my grill really messy. But you can actually marinate a piece of meat with it and then grill it or cook it on the stove or in the oven. It is really some amazing stuff. And I've been making it for years and years and years. And so I grew the garlic, and it was actually garlic from last year, and it was just my garlic jar. And I thought, I think I'll use those up because all the garlics are up. And even if the bulbs weren't real formed, I can always pull some out because I have lots of them. But let's see how I make it. Now, below, I am going to have the recipe so that you could make 10 cups of jelly. You can always divide it. You can use a lot of different kind of pectins, but I will show you the pectin I use, but that's just personal preference. So let's make some garlic rosemary jelly. Well, I'm starting out with a cutting board and I'm breaking apart, and I grow hardneck garlic, and that's what that stem is in the center. And I'm just going to divide all these cloves up. I must have about 8 different cloves. I almost always grow Russian garlic because I like it so much. And I've been growing the same type of Russian garlic for, 15 years. And I'm going to cut it. So I always cut one side, flip it over, and then cut the other side, and that papery skin just comes apart. And then I can just get the last little bit of it. If there's any marks, I want to cut that off. And then I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do that on every single clove so that I can have the whole, and this is all of the stuff that's left over, and it'll go in the compost pile. And there's about 2 cups of garlic there. And those pieces are way too big, so I'm going to use them in the food processor. I'm going to chop them up, and I have approximately 2 cups of garlic. The smell is fabulous. Now I'm going to use a red wine vinegar, and I'm pouring it into big stock pot. Total, I need 4.5 cups of red wine vinegar. And there's a lot of different kinds. These bottles have 12 ounces, so I'm using 3 of those bottles. I'm dumping all of the garlic into the red wine vinegar. Now this is calcium water. The type of pectin I use, I have to use calcium water, and that is going to go right into that stock pot. And you only use that if you're using Pomona pectin. And this is what that pectin looks like. And I mix it with the sugar. And I have to take some time. I don't want any lumps. And I'm just going to use my whisk and I'm going to mix that around. And so I don't have any lumps of sugar and I don't have any lumps of the pectin. Now that stock pot is gone onto the stove so that it can heat up. So here we have it on the stove. I'm stirring it every so often. I want it to come to a rolling boil. So here it is at that boiling point, and then I can dump my sugar pectin mixture into it. I'm going to mix that very well. And in fact, I'm going to make sure that I stir it without stopping for about 2 to 3 minutes so that all that sugar and pectin is dissolved. If I see anything float, I'm going to break that up. And so I'm just going to whip that around. And it doesn't really take too long because the vinegar is already hot. And so I'm just going to mix that up. And there it comes to that rolling boil. I want to stir that for just about a minute, which is really pretty fast for a jelly. And so I'm going to turn that heat off. And after 1 minute, I'm going to take it over to where my jelly jars are. Now you can see that there's foam on the top of my jelly, and I don't like that. And so what I'm going to do is add a dollop of butter, about a tablespoon and a half of butter. And I'm just going to mix that in there. And it has like a chemical reaction, and that foam just breaks down. I just don't happen to like the foam on my jelly. Does that hurt it? No, I just don't happen to like it. So I'm going to mix that up, and then I'll be ready to pour the jelly into the jelly jars. Now my canner is already filled with water, and I have apple cider vinegar in there. Now I'm going to add rosemary at this point. And I'm just going to take dried rosemary, and I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of dried rosemary. I'm going to mix that in. Now you don't have to put rosemary in, but I just like the combination, that taste. So I'm going to mix that one more time, and I'm going to pour them into the jelly jars. I like to use a strainer. It's not messy that way, and you can just easily just pour it right in. And I have different size jars this time, so my water bath is high enough to cover the pint jars. Now you always want to make sure that you wipe those rims. So I'm using a wet paper towel, and I'm just making sure there's no jelly or garlic or rosemary on those rims before I put the lids on. And so it's ready to go into the canner. The water is completely boiling. I boiled it for 15 minutes. Now I'm taking it out. I'm going to put it over on a towel so that it can cool some. And it will take just seconds really before you start hearing that popping. And as you can see, the garlic has really moved itself up to the top. So I will let these cool for about 5 hours, and then I'm going to turn them on their side and move them around a little bit so that the garlic and rosemary gets incorporated. And see how it is tonight. It's all incorporated. Well, I hope you love it. I hope it inspires you to make some. Even if you buy the garlic from the farmer's market or something, try it. It is so delicious, and it just adds another layer of flavors to whatever you're cooking. This is Sandy at Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. I hope you like, subscribe, share with the world. Hit that thumbs up button and tell somebody about making garlic rosemary jelly.